When I first started out, I thought money was just about income, the size of the paycheck, the figure on the contract, the total on the commission slip. But it didn't take long to realize that money isn't a measure of your income, it's a mirror of your discipline. You can earn a fortune and still end up broke if your habits are undisciplined. I've seen people make $1 million a year and have nothing to show for it by December. And I've seen others who earned modest incomes. But their consistency, restraint, and order turned those small dollars into lasting wealth. The truth is, money doesn't lie. It will always reflect the way you think, the way you behave, and the way you manage yourself. When I was a young man, I met someone who forever changed my understanding of money. He told me, if you want to be wealthy, don't start by chasing money. Start by fixing your habits. That idea struck me like lightning. I realized that my wallet wasn't empty because opportunity hadn't knocked. It was empty because I lacked order. I wasn't managing what I already had. I had small leaks in my habits, unnecessary spending, no written budget, impulsive purchases, and no plan for the next dollar. You can't build a mansion if your foundation leaks water. And you can't build wealth if your financial habits leak discipline. Think of your money like a reflection in the mirror. If you see disorder in your finances, that's not the problem, it's the symptom. The problem is the person in the reflection. The moment you decide to build discipline, to track, to plan, to delay gratification, the reflection changes. The math takes care of itself when your mindset matures. That's why wealthy people think differently about money. They don't let emotions decide their purchases. They have rules, systems, and self-control. It's not about being stingy, it's about being strategic. Discipline doesn't start when you have plenty, it starts when you have little. If you can't manage $100 wisely, you won't manage 10,000 with wisdom. I remember saving just a few dollars a week when I had almost nothing. It wasn't the amount that mattered, it was the behavior. Each time I put something aside, I was training myself to respect the process. I was building a habit that said, I'm in charge of my money, not the other way around. That single act of discipline opened the door to everything that came later. The investments, the opportunities, the partnerships. The moment you treat money as a test of your character rather than a tool of convenience, everything changes. Your spending becomes intentional. Your savings become consistent. Your investments become thoughtful. You stop being controlled by impulse and start being guided by purpose. Because at the end of the day, your bank account isn't just numbers. It's your life written in dollars. Discipline first, wealth second. That's the timeless rule. If you can master yourself, you'll never have to worry about mastering money. It will follow your lead. When I was young and broke, I used to think small money didn't matter. I'd say things like, it's only $5, or it's just a cup of coffee. But one day, a wise man told me something that changed everything. He said, if you can't respect the small, you'll never be trusted with the big. That line stayed with me because it exposed my biggest weakness. I was waiting for more money before I became responsible. I thought discipline started after abundance. But the truth is, abundance starts with discipline. If you mishandle $5, you'll mishandle $50,000. The number doesn't change the habit magnifies the number. Money has a strange way of revealing who you really are. If you're careless with a few dollars, you'll only multiply that carelessness when more arrives. If you're precise with a little, you'll multiply that precision when your resources grow. I've seen people win the lottery or land a huge deal and lose it all within a few years because they never learned to manage small amounts first. They thought more money would fix their problems, but it only exposed their lack of respect for money. Remember, wealth doesn't come to those who earn more, It comes to those who manage better. When I began to take my finances seriously, I started tracking every cent. Not because I was greedy, but because I needed to build awareness. I wanted to know where my money was going, not just where it was coming from. I learned that the secret to wealth isn't in grand gestures. It's in small consistencies. $1 saved, $1 invested, $1 directed with purpose. That's how the foundation of wealth is laid. Every fortune you've ever admired began as small, disciplined decisions repeated over time. I remember starting my first business with a few $100s. I treated that money like gold. I recorded every expense, every profit, every opportunity. That attention to detail didn't just grow my business, it grew me. Because the way you handle small money isn't about the money, it's about the mindset. When you treat every dollar like a seed, you nurture the habits that later grow into orchards. But when you treat small money like it's disposable, you teach your mind that money is temporary, and it will behave that way in your life. So, don't despise small beginnings. Don't think your current income is too little to matter. Start with what you have and manage it like a millionaire in training. Build the discipline now, and when larger sums arrive, and they will, you'll already have the character to keep and grow them. Because money doesn't make you disciplined. Discipline makes you worthy of money. Respect the $5 and the 50,000 will respect you. When I was young, I used to think money was simple. You earn it, you spend it, and if you're lucky, you have a little left over. But as I grew older and started observing wealthy people, I realized that money has rules. Silent, powerful rules that most people never bother to learn. And that ignorance is expensive. You see, money doesn't reward luck. It rewards understanding. Just like gravity, money has laws, and if you ignore them, you'll fall just as surely as if you stepped off a roof. But when you learn them, you can harness them, and they'll quietly start working for you instead of against you. Let's talk about one of those laws. Compounding. Compounding is one of the most magical yet misunderstood forces on earth. It's not loud, it's not quick, but it's unstoppable once set in motion. Imagine a small seed planted in the ground. You water it, nurture it, and for a while, nothing happens. But give it time, and suddenly it begins to grow. Slowly at first, then faster, then exponentially. That's compounding. I tell people all the time, you don't need to start with a fortune. You need to start with consistency. A few dollars invested regularly can grow into something extraordinary if you give it enough time to multiply. But you must begin early, because compounding rewards the patient, not the procrastinator. Now, there's another rule. Taxes. Taxes are the silent partner in every dollar you earn. The poor ignore them until tax season. The wealthy study them before making a move. The goal isn't to evade taxes, it's to understand them. The government rewards certain behaviors, like investing in businesses, real estate, or creating jobs, because those actions stimulate the economy. When you play by those rules, you not only keep more of what you earn, but also direct your money into productive ventures. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter within the system that already exists. Then there's debt. Another rule too many people break without realizing it. Debt isn't evil, it's neutral. It depends on who's holding the reins. Poor people use debt to consume. Cars, clothes, vacations. The wealthy use debt to create businesses, properties, assets that generate income. One kind drains you, the other builds you. The difference lies not in the debt itself, but in the intention behind it. And here's one more. Interest. Interest is either your worst enemy or your most loyal ally. When you owe it, it works against you every single. When you earn it, it works for you every single night, even while you sleep. That's why I tell people, if you don't learn how interest works, you'll spend your life paying it instead of collecting it. Money doesn't hide its rules. It just doesn't shout them. They're quiet, consistent, and always fair. If you study them, respect them, and align your behavior with them, you'll find freedom. But if you ignore them, they'll quietly punish you for your neglect. So take the time to learn the silent rules of money, because what you don't know about money will always cost you more than what you do. One of the great traps in life is what I call the income illusion. It's the moment when your paycheck goes up, and suddenly, so does everything else. Your car, your clothes, your gadgets, your vacations. Most people think a raise means they can finally live a little. But here's the truth. If your expenses rise with your income, you're not getting richer. You're just getting busier, maintaining a more expensive lifestyle. The wealthy see a raise differently. To them, every increase in income is an opportunity to build something that lasts, not to inflate something that fades. I remember when I got my first real raise. I felt like a king. My mind immediately started making a list. New suit, better car, fancier dinners. But then I realized something. If I did that, I'd have nothing to show for it except a new set of bills. So, I made a decision. I froze my lifestyle right where it was and funneled that extra income into investments. And let me tell you, it changed everything. That small choice didn't make me rich overnight, but it created the habits that eventually made me free. Every time you get a raise, you have a choice. You can celebrate it with consumption, or you can multiply it through investment. One gives you temporary pleasure, the other gives you permanent growth. The poor buy things that lose value. The wealthy buy things that gain value. It's not that one group has better luck. It's that one group has better priorities. Let's say you get an extra $500 a month. Most people will absorb that money into their lifestyle so seamlessly that they won't even notice it's gone. But what if you treated that $500 as seed money? You could start an investment account, buy a small piece of a business, or save toward your first rental property. In 5 years, those small seeds could grow into thousands, and more importantly, they'd start working for you instead of you working for them. You see, the key is not how much money you make, it's how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. When you get a raise, don't see it as permission to expand your comfort zone. See it as a tool to expand your freedom zone. That difference in mindset is what separates the wealthy from everyone else. The goal is to let your income grow while your lifestyle remains steady, at least for a while. That's how you build a gap, and that gap is what funds your investments. When your assets begin to generate enough income to pay for your lifestyle, you've crossed the line from survival to independence. That's when life begins to feel lighter, not because you have more, but because you finally made your money start working harder than you do. So next time you get a raise, pause before you celebrate. Remember, every dollar you invest buys you time, freedom, and peace of mind, and that's worth far more than any new toy money can buy. Curiosity, that's where every fortune begins. Not in luck, not in inheritance, but in the spark that says, I wonder how that works. See, most people walk through life satisfied with what they already know. They go to work, come home, and repeat year after year, never asking the deeper questions that could open doors to wealth. But the wealthy, they're professional question askers. They're students of the game. They don't assume, they inquire. And that curiosity leads them to insights, opportunities, and ideas that the average person never even notices. When I was starting out, I wasn't wealthy, far from it. I was broke, struggling, and frustrated. But I was curious. I asked my mentor question after question. How does money grow? How do investments work? Why do some people seem to get ahead while others stay stuck? And every answer led me to another question. My mentor used to say, if you stay curious long enough, the world will start revealing its secrets to you. And he was right. I learned about taxes, interest, business models, real estate, marketing, not all at once, but little by little, because curiosity kept me searching. Curiosity costs you nothing but pays you endlessly. It's the bridge between ignorance and wealth. The truth is, most people don't stay poor because they lack intelligence. They stay poor because they stop asking questions. They stop learning after school, and they never realize that the real education begins after graduation. Wealthy people treat learning like a lifelong sport. They attend seminars, read books, watch interviews, and study those who've already done what they want to do. You don't have to know everything, but you must stay curious enough to learn what you need next. Ask questions like, what are the rich doing differently with their time? How does compound interest really work in my favor? What are tax strategies that help my money grow legally and efficiently? Each question expands your mind a little more, and an expanded mind never goes back to its smaller form. Think of curiosity as the shovel that uncovers buried treasure. Every book you read, every conversation you initiate, every expert you listen to, that's you digging. You might not strike gold with the first question, but keep digging, and soon you'll uncover the principles that govern wealth. Once you understand those principles, money becomes less of a mystery and more of a tool, one you can wield wisely. I once met a man who had built his fortune in real estate. He told me he started by asking a single question. How do people buy houses with little money down? That question led him to study the process, meet investors, and take his first small deal. One question changed his life. You never know which question will change yours. So, let curiosity lead you, especially about money. Don't let embarrassment or fear stop you from asking what you don't know. Remember, ignorance is expensive, but curiosity is free, and it just might make you rich. It's easy to look rich. It's much harder to be rich. The world today rewards appearance, shiny watches, fancy cars, designer labels. Everywhere you look, someone's trying to look successful. But the truth is, looking rich and being rich are two very different things. Many broke people look rich because they wear their money. They spend what they have and what they don't, trying to impress people who don't even notice. The wealthy, on the other hand, don't need to prove anything. They don't wear their value on their wrist. They store it in assets, investments, and freedom. I remember a young man once telling me, I just got my first big paycheck, and I'm going to buy the car of my dreams. I told him, if you buy that car before you buy an asset, you're not buying transportation, you're buying a trap. He didn't listen. 6 months later, the car was worth less, the payments kept coming, and his savings were gone. The car looked great, but his financial life was falling apart. You see, luxury before wealth is an illusion. It's a show without substance. True wealth doesn't shout, it whispers. It's quiet, consistent, and patient. When I first began earning more, my mentor gave me advice I never forgot. He said, don't upgrade your lifestyle, upgrade your assets. That meant no fancy house, no designer suits, not yet. Instead, I bought books, attended seminars, invested in small ventures. The results didn't show up right away, but a few years later, While others were struggling to maintain their image, I had built something real. Ownership, not appearance. Luxury, in the right season, can be wonderful. The problem isn't having nice things, it's letting nice things have you. When you spend money to look successful, you rob your future self of freedom. Every dollar you spend to impress is a dollar that could have been invested to multiply. And here's the irony. When you finally build real wealth, luxury loses its pull. You start valuing peace over flash, time over toys, freedom over fashion. I've met millionaires who drive old trucks, wear plain clothes, and live below their means. Why? Because they've learned what matters. They're not trying to impress. They're trying to expand. They're focused on buying time, ownership, and control over their lives. The things that truly define wealth. So the next time you're tempted to buy something to prove your worth, pause and ask, am I buying freedom or just status? Because freedom, the ability to live life on your own terms, that's the real luxury. The lesson is simple. Don't spend to look rich, build to stay rich. Don't chase luxury, chase freedom, and one day you'll have both. Money has a personality. It likes order, clarity, and discipline, and it dislikes chaos, neglect, and impulsiveness. You can tell a lot about someone's relationship with money just by watching their habits. Some people seem to attract money. Opportunities find them. Their savings grow, and their investments multiply. Others, no matter how hard they work, seem to repel it. They lose track of where it goes, live in constant stress, and wonder why wealth never stays. The truth is, money flows toward those who treat it with respect. When I was young and broke, I used to blame my circumstances. I thought the problem was that I didn't make enough. But then I learned something that changed everything. It wasn't about how much I earned, it was about how I managed what I earned. I started to notice patterns, late payments, unplanned spending, no record of where my money went. I realized I was repelling wealth through bad habits. Once I cleaned that up, started tracking every dollar, paying bills on time, saving before spending, everything began to shift. It wasn't magic, it was management. Think of money as a guest. If your financial house is messy, money won't stay long. But if your house is clean, your budget is in order, your priorities are clear, and your systems are consistent, money feels welcome. Late payments, impulsive shopping, neglecting savings, those are signals that say, I can't be trusted yet. But saving first, tracking expenses, investing consistently, those say, I'm ready to handle more. Every wealthy person I've met has one thing in common: systems. They don't rely on emotion to manage money, they rely on structure. They have budgets, automatic transfers, investment schedules, and review routines. They treat money like a business partner with discipline and clarity. And because of that, money keeps showing up. I remember when I first started saving a small portion of every dollar, even when it was just a few coins in a jar. That act alone began to change how I felt about money. I was no longer chasing it, I was attracting it. Over time, that habit grew from coins to dollars, from dollars to investments, from investments to freedom. It all started with the simple discipline of respecting small amounts.